Morning thoughts, morning thoughts, morning thoughts. And we are live. Shout out to the people going out to work this morning. Shout out to the people coming in from work this morning. Extra special big up shout out to the people who work multiple jobs. I have the utmost respect for you. Shout out to my Uber driver, Lyft drivers, truck drivers, long distance truck drivers. Shout out to Troy Trucking on YouTube. Shout out to every single clean-hearted, good-hearted person that wants good for others as much as you want good for yourself. Shout out to you. Welcome to SouFLoTV this morning. We are kicking off this morning's morning thoughts with a lot on the thoughts this morning. Multiple topics this morning. Okay, so the headline says Trump told the good old boys to stand down and stand by. We're also going to talk about NIDS. I don't know if you're familiar with NIDS in Jamaica, but NIDS was supposed to be or is supposed to be passed into law before this year is out. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about NIDS. I also want to talk about two little girls who recently were found dead. One was found hung in her house. This was yesterday. And another one was found dead, stabbed in her chest. That was, I believe, the day before yesterday or yesterday as well. So we're going to talk about a couple of things this morning. So come on in, big up on yourself. Thanks for tuning in this morning. And let's start out with the Trump thing. So I don't know if you watched the presidential debate last night. I did not. I will be watching it today, though. However, there is a large portion of it going around on social media, and there's a part where Donald Trump is actually asked to... First of all, let me say a shout out this morning to the Donald Trump supporters who are black people. Okay, if you're a person of color or if you're a black person and or classified as a black person and you are a Donald Trump supporter, shout out to you this morning. I don't know if you're blind. I don't know if you're deaf. I don't know if you're living under a rock. I don't know if you're just going with the hype. I don't know what your core thing for your decision to follow and vote for this person. I don't know how you got to that decision. It would be interesting to know, though, and that is why we have an open forum here where as long as you don't disrespect anybody, you can say what is on your mind. Just find a clean way to say it. And when you're asked for facts, present your facts. Now, last night in the presidential debate, Donald Trump was asked to address, listen, he was asked to address white supremacy, white supremacist groups, local terrorists. He was asked to address them. And you know what his answer was? This is how he addressed them. Stand down and stand by. Stand down and stand by. Could you imagine if we had a radical black supremacy group and we had a black president that was asked to address the black supremacy group, and that black president got up there and said, stand down and stand by. The White House would be burnt to the ground. Forget the security and forget the fences. They would rush that thing with everything they had in them. It would be all out war. A black president tells what is labeled as a black supremacy group that has a history. If we had a history of racially motivated violence and a black president is asked, could you address this group, black supremacy group, so-and-so? And could you imagine that black president sat up there in front of the world and said, stand down and stand by? I'll tell them, stand down and stand by. Do y'all know why Trump is saying stand down and stand by? He's saying stand down and stand by because he's already made it clear. I don't know if you guys are keeping up. Not going to stay on this topic too long because I want to get into the topic about the NIDS and then the two little girls. But stand down and stand by. He is telling them to stand down and stand by because he plans for there to be an all-out breakout, violence included, at the conclusion of this election. The election is going to be in November. Following the conclusion of that election, if he is not the winner, he has already made it clear that this election will be decided by the Supreme Court. He has already made it clear that he has no plans of just walking away and saying respectfully, okay, the election is over, the people have spoken, you have won, hand over power and exit the White House. He has no plans of doing so. He has already made this clear in his own words. In his own words. This isn't us making this up. It is out there in print, in his own words. He has begun, go Google it now. He has begun to assemble top lawyers from top firms across the country who are versed in this type of law to take this to the Supreme Court, the decision of the election. He has already made it up in his mind and has told the people that, listen, I'm not getting out. And when asked to address groups that we know to be violent or groups that have threatened violence if they did not get their way, he looked at those groups and told them, they specifically asked him. They didn't say, what would you say, Mr. President, what would you say to protesters? It was not generalized. It was specific. What would you say to, they didn't say, what would you say to protesters? They didn't say, what would you say to, they said, if asked to address white supremacy and white supremacy groups, we're talking about the groups like the KKK. We're talking about these militias that are heavily armed, highly trained, ready to go, and has made it known that they are ready to go if they do not get their way. We do not want the bloodshed. So you being in control of this vessel, what would you say to address these white supremacy groups known to cause violence or known to bring violence? The KKK has an extensive history of, I mean, I don't have to speak about it. You guys already know. And he looks at that group and says, what would I tell them? I would tell them to stand down and stand by. This is after telling us that he is not leaving the White House. There will be no peaceful handover of power, he said. Matter of fact, he said, if you do away with the ballots, then there won't even be a transfer of power. It will only be a continuation, quote unquote, is what he said. So y'all see what's coming, right? Y'all see what's brewing. Y'all see what this man is trying to do. I don't even care about all the other stuff anymore. I don't even care about all the other stuff anymore. I am focused on that part now. It would have been so easy for Donald Trump to just get up there and say, listen, violence has no place in America. I don't support any supremacy groups of any ethnicity, race, culture, whatever. It doesn't belong here. It was easy for him to use the platform to say that. Those words were chosen wisely. Stand down and stand by. If he had just said stand down, I would have said, okay, he must be in charge of them because he's telling them to stand down, expecting them to stand down. That's like being in the army and your team leader or your platoon leader or your sergeant, your platoon sergeant says, stand down. That's like being a sniper and you're waiting for your go call, finger on the trigger, and you hear stand down. If he had just said stand down, I would have said, okay, I can work with that. I already know he is one of them. I can work with the stand down part. But stand by, stand down and stand by. Stand down means don't do anything yet. Stand by means we need you and we're going to be calling on you at some point. We might have to, so stand by. That's what it means. Stand down and stand by. Coded right to his core audience. Those who he knows that he can manipulate them. You know what's sad though? The more I get into this and the more I'm reading, researching, none of them are perfect. It's, again, we're in the same position, like always, as a people, as the people, encompassing all people who are under this government. I'm looking at black people and that are Trump 2020. And I'm saying to myself, I remember Trump said in a video when they asked him, and this was way back ago, they asked him, would you consider becoming the president of the United States of America? And he said, yes. No, he said, no. He said, no. But if I did, I would run as a Republican. And they said, why? And he said, because they're just too stupid to understand. In other words, they'll be easily manipulated. Now, he might not have said they're just too stupid to understand. Those are my words. But go look at the video because it's out there on YouTube still. And this was years ago before he was even a thought of becoming a president. This is a young Donald Trump when he was exploding in millions, successful businesses everywhere, all this other stuff. I believe he had just acquired the Trump Towers. Prime piece of real estate, multi-billion-dollar real estate in the middle of New York City. And they asked him, hey man, you're young, you're successful, you've done it all. What else is there for you to do at this point? And you're still so young. Would you consider running for the president of the United States? And he said no. And then he said, but if I was going to, I would run as a Republican. Now I want people to understand that when I speak, I'm not into this Democrat Republican stuff. It is always, the focus is always on us, the people. The focus is always on our safety, our children's future, and the world we are going to leave behind for them and their children and their children's children to grow up in. Everybody knows whatever happens in the US affects globally. Right? Stand down and stand by. Wow. So before I go into any other topic, I just want to read some of these comments because I'm going to ask a question. And here's my question. What are your feelings about this after seeing this? Are you still a Donald Trump supporter? Do you still plan on voting for a white president who can look at a white supremacy group that is known for violence and tell them to stand down and stand by when he is asked to address them and address the violence? Are you on the same page with that? It's crazy. Mad thing are going on, people. All right, so Ed Marine Dixon, shout out and thank you for being here. Ed Marine Dixon says, wow, who the hell is saying that Trump won the debate? Trump is a bully and intimidator. There are people that are saying he won the debate. Majority of the people are actually saying that he was a bully. He didn't even give Biden a chance to talk. He went in there with his same kind of ways, that disrespectful, egotistical kind of person that he is. But they call that good leadership. They call that strong leadership is what they call that. He released, or they released his tax papers day before yesterday. Come to find out, everybody else paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, or millions. Trump paid $750. They dismissed that as well. $750. $100 million salary, and you paid $750 on that. And there are people out here working 50, 60, 80 hours a week and paid more than double, triple, quadruple what he paid in taxes. His followers dismiss that as, well, you can't blame him. He's a smart businessman. I want to learn how to do what he did. I want to not pay no taxes. Do you think that that privilege is ever going to be extended to you? That privilege is extended to him and others like him who are in the upper echelon. It is a way to protect their billions and their trillions. And it is done at the expense of you and I, the lower class. All right, so Pauline Wilson says, did you hear this man say that there are blacks who are for him? There are blacks who are for him. Plain and simple. Can't complain at all. I hope all is well with you. Yeah, okay. Good morning. Good morning. People are having their conversations. Come on in if you're coming in. We have multiple topics this morning. We started out with the Donald Trump tells white supremacist groups to stand down and stand by. And we just beat that one to death. We're going to talk about NIDS. And it's supposed to pass into law by the end of the year in Jamaica. We're going to talk about the two little girls, two separate incidents, one stabbed to death and one hung. And the cases are both suspicious. Robbie Corrigan, good morning, big bro. Robbie Corrigan says narcissistic and racist disorders are not repairable. And this is exactly what we're witnessing right before our eyes. Yardy Gal, keep it real, says, I was never a Donald Trump supporter from day one. Tashia Woods says, me I beg Canada to open the borders. Some can exit. But if you think it's a joke thing, Canada is right next door, and there are many that have fled to Canada, and there are many more that will be fleeing to Canada. Just on immigration issues alone, a lot of people have left the United States of America for Canada. So a joke thing, but it's serious. And sometimes we take serious thing, make joke. But keep this in mind as we move on to the next topic. This man was asked at the presidential debate last night to address white supremacist groups like the KKK and all those. What would you say to them? They're threatening that if they don't get their way, it's all out war. We don't want the bloodshed. Will you go peacefully when the election is called and the result says you're no longer the president? Trump had already 2 weeks ago or a week ago addressed that and said there will be no peaceful transfer of power. Matter of fact, if you get rid of the ballots, there won't even be a transfer of power. It will only be a continuance, is what he said. Then he went on to start to assemble teams of lawyers from top law firms all across the country to fight the results of the election that is upcoming. Why are you assembling a team to fight the results when the election itself has not even taken place yet? It's not like he lost and then he's saying, hey, I don't think this was done fairly, so I want to fight it. It hasn't even happened yet. And he's already made it clear that this election will be decided by the Supreme Court because he is going to fight it all the way up. I don't know if y'all realize that one bench on the Supreme Court recently became empty because the lady who held that spot passed away, and she held that spot for a long time. The president has the power to authorize who sits next in that seat. He picked someone that is very favorable to his agenda, and they are now sitting in that seat. This election, he said, is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. It's going to be decided by the Supreme Court. And when asked in the presidential debate to address these white supremacy groups, those threatening violence and all that, he said, stand down and stand by. All right, moving right along. So NIDS is to be passed into law by the end of this year, is the information that has been put out. NIDS is to be passed into law by the end of this year. When NIDS was first suggested, a lot of people were on board. There were a lot of Jamaicans that were against it. A lot of people were on board because we're saying, no, we want the place clean up. We have too many people running around in Jamaica with 2, 3, 4 different ID. We have too many people running around with no ID at all. Man don't know where them come from, who them is. There's no way to trace them, that kind of stuff. So it's basically documenting every individual that lives in the island is what NIDS was supposed to be. And in doing so would also help to establish a national database, which would also be beneficial in fighting crime. At its initial rollout, it was said to be too intrusive. The people them said, nah, I'm madness this, hold on there. So you want my fingerprint. They even wanted, I think it was your veins, or your palm print, your eye scan, retinal scan, and all this other stuff. And the people were like, that's too intrusive. We don't want that. We don't want that. So there were a large portion of people that were saying them don't want that. And there were others that were saying, the government knows everything about me already anyways, especially those of us who traveled already. You want to go England, you want to go Canada, you want to go the US. You all want to fly out, go to other places in the world. You have already given up all that information anyways. So give that information up to the database in your own country to establish some way of keeping the own country safe. Other people were saying nobody else has asked for all that in their own country. Ain't no retinal scan going on for US citizens. There's nothing that requires you, and it was supposed to be required. It was supposed to be mandatory. And if you didn't get it done within a certain period of time, you would be fined. These are new laws that were coming out in Jamaica, right? Well, it went to the highest courts in Jamaica and it was struck down. Andrew said, let's get the NIDS going. The other party opposed, which is what they do on both sides. If PMP says something, JLP oppose it. If JLP says something, PMP oppose it. And the people are caught in the middle, right? So it went to the highest courts. It was shut down. They went back to the drawing board. They revamped it. And now it is out again. And they're saying that it should be written or passed into law by the end of this year. Few things have changed in the NIDS. I'm giving you some information, but I'm also asking your opinion. Few things have changed with NIDS in this new rollout. For one, it will no longer be mandatory. It will no longer be mandatory. They'll roll it out, but who wants to get it is going to go get it. I'm sure that they will have requirements in certain areas that will make it mandatory for certain people if you want to participate in certain things. Like, for instance, if you want to fly in and out of the country, you're probably going to have to go under that system. If you're just a regular citizen, you never leave Jamaica, you don't want all that, then you might not be required. You might not be required to go under that system. What are your thoughts on this? That's one of the things that they changed, because the Supreme Court in Jamaica said this was too much of a violation for the citizens. It is their constitutional right to privacy, and this is a huge violation. What are your thoughts on this? Should it be rolled out in its original state? Should it be mandatory for every citizen to fall under NIDS, get your new ID, get scanned into the new system? They're saying that this is a way for them to document our citizens, because that information, and this is the fear. The fear is that that deep of information of the citizens in the country can actually be used against the country by powers from the outside. The people have a legitimate fear. What are your thoughts on this? I was caught up in it at first because I was looking at it from a standpoint of solving crime. And here in the US, when they have new systems roll out like that, it's mandatory that you go get it. You're not asked, and you have choice. Unless you want to have to hide and live under a rock, but you're going to have to fall under the system to get anything done. Banking, job interviews, ID verification by police. Say you get pulled over for speeding, or you get pulled over because your tail light on your vehicle is out. Immediately you're in contact with law enforcement. You're going to have all the up-to-date documents. My personal opinion of the NIDS, and then I'm going to move on to the story about the two little girls. My personal opinion of the NIDS is this. I honestly believe that everyone should. Now, a lot of people don't like when I say this, and this is not one of my popular standpoints, where enough people say, I agree with your SouFLo. No, I get a whole lot of cussing for this one. But I think that it is mandatory. It should be mandatory for every citizen. And the reason why it should be mandatory for every citizen is so everyone is on one page. So a system that is designed with order and accountability is a system that works better than a system where everything seems to be in chaos. You can't find this person. People are able to come and go as they please. A lot of people come into Jamaica undocumented. And they leave undocumented and fly in and fly out like they control the borders. Now, whether it's on a boat or whether it's by air, it happens. A lot of criminals are able to operate in multiple parishes. We've even talked about color coding the license plates and putting on the license plates the exact part of the country that individual who is registered with that car is from. So the license plate, you would have a Florida license plate if you're in Florida. You have a Texas license plate if you're from Texas. You have a New York license plate if you're from New York, right? But right now, it seems haywire. It needs more organizing. And I think that the NIDS was one of the ways to get that done. Also, more importantly, though, to establish that national DNA database that we've been talking about for so long. This has allowed people to commit crimes in multiple, and I mean, not no pickpocket crime. We're talking about serious crimes in multiple parishes across the country. And they're basically untraceable. Everyone requires an ID with an address where you live. And you have a short period of time to update that ID or face penalties every time you move. That's the same thing here. We follow the US so much. Follow that. Follow that. Follow some of the beneficial things. Don't just follow all the foolishness. All the foolishness. You know, when Granny said foolish. And that brings us to the halfway point, and we're going in now about the two little girls. Let me get my lights back on. All right. So, on your thoughts about NIDS, happy hump day, Alfred Benjamin. Good day, SouFlo. Up. Manners and respect, subscribers. Manners and respect to you too, family. Blessings and have a wonderful day. Empress Mara Monique says, people that say he won the debate are small-minded, disrespectful people too. And that's referring to the whole, what's his name? Trump thing. Bruno says Biden had 47 years to solve black problems that he created. I have no clue what Bruno is talking about, but this is the mind frame of black people who support Donald Trump for president. They tend to be a bit mixed up, you know, and you can't tell them anything because they know it all and their leader knows it all. Anyhow, if you think that Biden created black problems in the US and could have solved it by himself in 47 years, then you have issues. I'll just leave that right there. I'm reading some of these comments and I just skip along. Madman in a clean clothes, some people call him madman in a clean clothes. Up top, Gaza Tug, crucial. Up top, up. All right. Renee Robinson says, I hate to tell people, but that wasn't Donald Trump who showed up last night for the debate. That was Trump body double. I suppose Trump wasn't watching from the Oval Office. Yeah, these are the kind of excuses they make. It's like, it wasn't Trump that showed up last night. That was his body double that took, oh my God. 876 God says it will be mandatory indirectly. Just by you won't be able to do anything without getting it, and that alone will force you to go and get it. And that is that's what I'm saying too about the NIDS. That was supposed to be written into law by the end of the year in Jamaica. Mandatory. They won't make it mandatory. That's the new rollout. The people were too much against it being mandatory. The Supreme Court said it was violating citizens' constitutional right to privacy. So they shot it down, sent it back to the drawing board, and a new one has rolled out. And in this one, some of the stipulations are things that have changed, is that it will not be mandatory for everybody. But like this person just said, all they have to do is make it mandatory to do certain things, and you will end up having to go get it anyways. Anyhow, just a quick note I'll throw out there before we move forward. So, Jamaican woman eyes history as Florida's mayor. Now, not Florida's mayor as it said in the headline, but it is a city in Florida that she is running for mayor for. And this is actually the city in which I live. And here she is. And then we're going to talk a little bit about her, and we're going to move right along. All right, so there she is, and she is Jamaican, and she is running for the mayor of Palm Bay, Florida, which is the city in which I live in Florida, right? This is the first time I've ever said this is where I live, but good luck finding me in Palm Bay. Anyhow, so the Jamaican Gleaner printed it, even though she is here in my city, and I've seen her posters and flyers all around town. It's a good look. So for those of you who are out here and you're from Florida and you're a Jamaican and you actually do participate in the political process, then now would be a good time to go show your support for one of your own. Because this means that when we say we are run the place, it means that we are run the place. I said this before. that a lot of people do not know that the real elections that they need to be concerned about are their local elections. Who governs your city? Who governs your state? Your jurisdiction. Not so much the president and the presidential election. And the reason is because a lot of these things that we worry about, they are left to the discretion of those who govern the cities and the states. That is the reason why you can legally possess marijuana in one place and you drive a few miles that way, cross a border, and you can get years in prison for that same marijuana, because those laws were left up to the discretion of the people that govern those places. It's not an international law, right? Okay, so here's a chance for you to go out and support one of your own. Her article printed in the Gleaner, so I don't have to go through it extensively. For those who want to know a little bit about her background, she is a Jamaican through and through. The mayoral aspirant, or aspiring to be a mayor. She was born in Kingston, Jamaica. She moved to St. Mary with her parents before later on settling in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. She attended the Aracabessa and Ocho Rios primary schools, and she later she went to Ferncourt High before moving to Montague College. She migrated to the United States in 1998. Settled in New Jersey, only to return back to Jamaica in 2001. 98, 99, 2000, 2001. 4 years after she migrated to the US, she left. She went back to Jamaica in 2001, where she and her husband operated their own business in St. Anne. And in 2009, she then resettled. So from 2001 to 2009, almost a decade, she went back to Jamaica, stayed in Jamaica. Her and her husband cultivated and ran their own business in St. Anne. And then in 2009, she resettled in the state of Florida. Her last name is Mirage. She was a real estate, or is a real estate agent and a small business owner here in the US as well. She currently sits on the city's Community Development Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Board. Don't listen to those things. And then it ties right in with her agenda. Cause me, I know all skin folk and kinfolk. So you're not gonna get me to just go vote. A Jamaican, me I vote for her. Or, oh, they're black, I'm voting for them. No, I need to know your agenda. So I went and I looked up her agenda. And this might not be relevant to the people outside of my city, but for the people who are in my city, who I run into you guys all the time out here, her agenda is beneficial to us. All right. So she sits on the advisory board, Development Advisory Board, and Planning and Zoning Board, as well as she is serving as the Vice President of the Caribbean Sports and Cultural Association of Palm Bay. She said that she decided to jump into the race because the city needed a new leader who would take time to listen to and learn from the residents. Yes, and right up my alley. And she talked about the things that she was going to make better and all that other stuff. And you can go look all that up. Her whole agenda is right here in the Gleaner. And it says Jamaican woman eyes history as Florida mayor. That would be a good time to go out and cast your vote for K Mirage. Her name is K Mirage. I was supposed to reach out to her through a real estate agent that I'm working with, and I was told that she was expecting my call. Of course, that would be an awesome interview, because we talk about leaving Jamaica, putting your best foot forward all the time, excelling, making use of the opportunities that are available to you overseas, right? To maximize your potential in life. And she's certainly a bright, shining example of that. So it would be good to have a sit down with someone like that. I can't promise you that I will, Right now, everything is crazy. You know, COVID thing still a keep. People still moving kind of differently and all this other stuff. But we will see how this whole election process goes. And definitely, I do vote. I do vote on a local level, and I will be out there casting my vote for K Mirage for mayor of Palm Bay in the state of Florida. All right, just to throw that out there. Moving right along, this little girl. The little girl was stabbed in her chest. Weird as hell. And me and Brains was talking about this, and we're saying that at her age, even for a grown person, if you take a sharp object and you poke yourself with it, your intention is to stab yourself hard enough to kill yourself. Just the initial, it's like touching a hot stove. You don't touch the stove and put your hand on it unless there's something wrong with your hand. You don't touch your stove and put your hand on it and the stove is hot and you wait to see your hand sizzling to say, oh, my hand is burning, and remove your hand. So it's the same thing with pain and you being able to do it to yourself. I just cannot fathom a child this young, 7 years old, taking a big kitchen knife and running it into her own chest. That's weird. But they're ruling this more as a suicide than anything else. And I genuinely think that foul play was involved. So let's deal with the little girl first who has the stab wound to the chest. 7-year-old dies after being stabbed in the chest, and the family said that she wanted to be a nurse. All right, let's get into the details of that. So according to her grand aunt, Lorna Davidson, by way of the Jamaica Star, Lorna Davidson, 7-year-old Bianca, Heaven was her name, Spence, she wanted to become a nurse, She said that Bianca, who attended Rusty's primary school, catered to the needs of her relatives, especially her uncle, Heron Davison, who uses a wheelchair. I don't care. Call me what you want to call me. Red flag just went up for me. Reading through the entire story, it seemed to me like she was more like a domestic help than anything else. But I'll continue with the story. And then tie that into the way how she was found. Very suspicious to me. Not saying uncle did anything, but I'm saying red flag. 7-year-old. She catered to the needs of her family, especially her uncle, Heron Davidson, who uses a wheelchair. Me dey here in my wheelchair. This is the uncle. Him say, me dey here in my wheelchair. And she always come and she sit to it that me get me water. Uncle, you want water? Same way she would have said it. Davidson said, tears streaming down his cheek. Me miss her, man. She always come mop out my room and make sure say it clean. All when a weekend time, because she know say me dust down the dresser and thing, she help me and fix it up back. I don't know what happened, but it shake me up. Bianca's body was found on Saturday morning lying on the floor with what appeared to be a stab wound to her chest at her home in O'Mara Road, St. Andrew. She was rushed to the hospital by relatives where she died while she was being treated. The Hunts Bay police are currently investigating this one. Lorna, with whom Bianca lived since she was 3 years old, said that no task was too difficult for the little girl. No task was too difficult for her to tackle. So she's not living with her mom or her dad. Red flag. I don't know. I'm used to seeing so many of those stories where children, parents dead or leave them abandoned and family member come in to take over and say they might take care of the youth. And that's just how it look from the outside. But when you go inside the house, that youth who don't have no mommy and daddy no more, they're pretty much like the workhorse. They're pretty much the beaten pole. they're pretty much the Cinderella. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen these stories many times. I'm not saying that this is what happened in this case, but she is at 7 years old. Her responsibilities were pretty high. Anyways, they said that she was very helpful. I know when I was 7, I was washing clothes too, scrubs by hand, because my grandmother thought that it was necessary to teach us how to not depend on others or technology to survive. So washing machine don't have to be there for you to wash your clothes and these kind of things. And then she taught us how to cook as well. And I was in the kitchen from them aged at 7 and 6. So could very well be one of those households as well. The woman that she was living with said that she was very helpful enough. She would have wiped the floor from morning until night. Where 7-year-old get time for a wipe floor from morning till night though? Again, just me. She would wipe the floor from morning until night. The place all wet sometimes. You can't even come in. You have to stand up and wait until it dry. The warehouse she wet up the place and say she a wipe. But because she can't squeeze out the mop, for dry it, a bare water, she said. All the little babies them, as a time for them to bathe, she go set them bath. So she a mop floor from morning till night. She's taking care of her uncle who's in a wheelchair. She is helping to take care of the little babies them at bath time and all these things. She was found in the house with an apparent stab wound to the chest or to the upper body. All the little babies them, as a time come for them go bathe, she set them water. Lorna also told the star that Bianca was a social butterfly, as the 60-year-old reminisced on the precious memories that she fought back to hold the tears in. She said that it's like me do everything me do. Me just I say if heaven did the here, she would have do this. Me can't get her out of my mind. Yesterday, the education minister, Fayval Williams, accompanied by the state minister Robert Nesta Morgan and other senior minister officers, visited the family. Now, that case, talk up to me and tell me the truth. That case don't seem suspicious to y'all? Sometimes when people are trying to cover up certain things, they end up telling more than would have been seen had they not say anything at all. And the more sometimes some people try to paint something to make it look good, is the more you actually see how messed up it is. Now, I don't know no 7-year-old where mop floor from morning till night. I don't know no 7-year-old that's, and I know it could be just a figure of expression of speech. It's like when we say, Lord, me tired, me feel like me I got dead. It's not like you're really gonna die. You just feel tired. You're tired to an extreme. You know what I say? And we talk a certain kind of way. So sometimes what we say is not what we mean it to say. But how it is printed and how it come across to me is all I could go off of. I wasn't there and I didn't speak to any of these people personally. But this is what it sounds like to me. No 7-year-old I know. 7-year-old Pitney wants to play, okay? They want to play, and they want to play all day. Is you have to sit them down and say, listen, you have to start learn how to read properly. You can read a little bit. I need you to learn how to read fluently, okay? So here's a little book I'm going to read with you, and then I want you to pronounce these words and how to break your words down into syllable. You have to teach them when education time come, because if it is left up to them to be children, then that's all they want to be. And you can't blame them, they're 7. So to find her stabbed in the chest and dead in the house, who was in the house with her when that happened? The biggest question out of the whole thing, and it was not published, who was in the, or did I miss it? Who was in the house with this child? Because they have to be accountable for what happened to this child. Am I wrong or right? Me don't know no 7-year-old who gonna take up a knife and stab themselves in the chest and kill themselves. She was known as a social butterfly. She mopped floor from morning till night. She not living with her parents, mom or dad. I don't know what the relation is to the person she was living with. I saw part of this article that said her grandmother said, but then there's another part after that, what her grandmother said, that says the woman she was living with. It didn't say her auntie. It didn't say her grandmother. It didn't say her mother. It said the woman she was living with. So may I go off of what's been presented to us. And it looks a little bit funny. It look a lot funny to me. Not a little bit. It look a lot funny to me. Right? And then there's another case of another little girl. And this little girl is 8 years old. Under similar suspicious circumstances. People, listen to me. It's not new when them molest off the little picnic them, and the little picnic them make up their mind, so them are gonna tell that somebody finds a way to get rid of little picnic. Because, and a lot of times it don't even have to be the perpetrator, the one who's been molesting them. It could be other family members, because no, you know, cause them your kind of embarrassment for my family. Remember the video where I did where the voice note from the lady who talked about what her mom did and her brother did and her dad did, and her mom was hold her down and spread her out and make her daddy insert all them something there. Remember how the other follow-up voice note was when her younger brother, who was not old enough to understand these things that happened, remember his response to her? Oh, you're dead to me. You don't have no family at Jamaica. Yo, hey, matter of fact, hey, Karen, don't call my number ever again. All this, right? And this is somebody that she's helped tremendously. And he even said it. Yeah, me appreciate all your help and everything you do for me, but I swear to God, if me could have give you back everything what you give me right now, you're dead to me. They took it that serious. Forget her pain. Forget that she's the victim of what she is saying. Forget that she brought proof. Because when she called me, you know, I said, boy, I can tell the story, but it sounds better to the audience if you tell it, because I'm going to miss out a lot of things. May I segue a little bit? I'm sidelining a little bit. I'll get to the other little girl. She said, I want to bring closure to it. I said, we need some kind of proof. She said, you know what? I have been wanting to call daddy for the longest. But me I go call him. And when I call him, I'm going to record the phone conversation and I'm going to confront him. You remember that? And they're telling her nobody denied. He didn't deny it. He just told her that, well, your mother make me do it. And back in a them time there, you know, so right now, listen now, right now people move on, you know. So the best thing you can do with life is you forgive and move on as well. And her brother's threatening to kill her. And her little brother is saying, the man threatened you one time, and you call that a threat. I didn't know that people needed to tell you that they're going to kill you multiple times for you to start taking it as a threat. But to show you how everybody rally around the perpetrator and not the victim is something that happens for real, for real. So listen to the details of this other one now, about this other little Jamaican girl now, 8-year-old girl found hanging. She was found hanging. Pretty little girl, 8 years old. The one where we just did, she was 7, found stabbed in the chest. Whole heap of questions. Who was at the house with her? How come she had to take care of so many people and doing so many things? Where she get time for to mop floor from morning till night? How come she has set baby bath and do all? She's 7. Where's her playtime? She wasn't living with mom or dad. Details. Gleaner again. Henry looked into bewilderment at her house a day after her 8-year-old daughter was found inside the house, hanging from a clothesline in Commodore St. Catherine on Sunday. So one was in St. Andrew, this was in St. Catherine. Her face was a canvas of devastation and dumbfoundedness as she retraced the steps that led to her saddest moment, discovering the dangling body of little Naomi Jones on Saturday. She said, "We have to leave from here, as I just beer bad memories are going to come through with mine." This is what she told the Gleaner on Sunday when the Gleaner met up with her. She said, "Right now, even the children, them I say, them don't want to stay here so cause them afraid of the house." She said, Henry recounted that she left Naomi at home to assist her eldest sister at a nearby gas station. Upon her return at about 5 p.m., she saw the child dangling from the roof inside of the house. Now you know them house there where the beams are exposed in the ceiling. So you have to go tell me now how this little 8-year-old girl get the cord, if you tie it over the beam strong enough to support her body weight in the house, in the middle of the house. And where was anybody else that was home with her? All right. So upon her return around 5 p.m., she saw the child dangling from the roof inside the house. Naomi's mother was in disbelief at the suspected suicide. Who did you leave the child at home with? That's the first one I want to ask. Me run and me hug up her body and me feel say it's still warm, you know? Somebody then tell me say, them look pan her and she dead, said Henry. Somebody then tell me say, so somebody pronounce her dead. But she hung up the body and the body warm. After her body was frantically cut loose, Naomi was rushed to the Linstead Hospital where her family's worst fears were realized because the 8-year-old was pronounced dead by medical officials then. How long did it take them from the time she was cut down to get to a medical facility? Were they stalling? I could go in, really go in. Who else was there when she found her, when she saw her? This sounds like she left at home by herself. Had to have been someone else there. It's in the middle of the house. So even if you leave kids at, and she mentioned other children, and we have to go move her from us because the children, them afraid. You know how we're going to Jamaica, you know, when you're growing up. I don't know if you grow up like me, but when anybody pass away in the neighborhood, much less in your house, you're afraid. No granny back foot. You're afraid. You not go outside because you think say Miss Smith I got walk the neighborhood because she was a teacher when she was alive and she beat me one time. She probably want to give me a beating from the dead. You know, me no know. Me not go outside or rolling car probably out a door. Them kind of something there. So children are going to be afraid. Was she left with other children? Was this some kind of playing, some kind of thing what they was trying went wrong? But you have to explain to me how the cord get tied up on the beam strong enough, and then somebody had to have the wherewithal to decide that this is a hanging, because the cord have to be strong enough, tied, secured to the beam to support her body weight, and then it has to be secured around her neck to support her body weight hanging again. Me not get it. So she's a mother of 5. All right. She told the Gleaner that Naomi had always wanted to become a fashion designer. The other little girl wanted to become a nurse. The one that was found with the stab wound in the chest. She wanted to be a nurse, according to her grandmother, right? This one wanted to be a fashion designer. The mother of 5 said that Naomi, the little girl who was found hanging, she was very playful, yet she was very focused on her schoolwork at Linstead Primary, where she was enrolled. Naomi was scheduled to start grade 3 when school reopened in October 5th. Lowell Walters described the child as full of potential. She said that she grew up hearing her like my own child, always taking her mother's clothes and towels and pretending to be a fashion designer while playing with my daughter, who is of the same age as she is. The Linstead police are currently investigating this one. In St. Catherine North Division have launched an investigation into the child's death. Now, there are countless people that are saying that it's suicide, but there are countless others that are calling bullshit on both cases. I'm calling bullshit on both cases. Both cases look like murder to me. We're at the top of the hour this morning. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to leave it right here. We can pick up this discussion in the comment section below where y'all can talk to and interact with each other. And I will be there to answer a few people. I'm out. Enjoy your weekend. You remember weekend? Let me turn on button like them. Enjoy your day. All right. Try to keep a level head. Try to have a happy day. Find reasons to smile. Don't let anybody steal your joy. Find reasons to continue to move forward with love and self-respect and respect for others as well. All right. And that's how we think that this morning. I'll catch you tomorrow morning on Morning Thoughts with SouFLoTV. Today is Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.